Madam President, I'm here to discuss the Defense Department's financial audits, or more accurately, the lack of credible audits. My colleagues know that I'm as stubborn as a mule when it comes to my oversight work of the Pentagon's accounting system, or lack of system. I wish I could stop sounding like a broken record when talking about the Pentagon's financial track record. The fact is that the Pentagon is pig-headed when it comes to accounting for taxpayer dollars. It keeps pouring billions of dollars into an antiquated accounting system that doesn't work. Late last year, I read an article that appeared in a national security blog. The blog is called War on the Rocks. This blog article is called, quote, "The Pentagon Can't Count. It's time to reinvent the audit," end of quote. It was written by Steve Blank, a business professor at Stanford University. As a former member of the Defense Business Board, the professor calls for a whole new approach to defense auditing. The Pentagon is spending $1 billion a year, and these are his quotes, to incrementally get better. And still, according to him, clean opinions are nowhere in sight. He raises a legitimate question. Why is the Pentagon spending so much money for so little results, meaning money on audits? Thinking outside the box was not in the Defense Business Board's charter, but Professor Blank allowed himself the luxury of thinking outside of the box. He dreamed about doing the impossible, and he wrote this fairly long quote. "What if we could invent the future? It dawned on me," he said. Continuing to quote, "If we tried to look over the horizon, we would discover that the department could audit faster, cheaper, and more effectively by inventing future tools and techniques rather than repeating the past," end of the professor's quote. The professor envisioned a, quote, "fifth generation of audit practices," end of quote, to break the cycle of audit failures at the Department of Defense. I give the professor very high grades for creativity and his search for new solutions, but disagree with some of his thinking. However, when it comes to pinpointing the root cause for unending audit failures, the professor hits the nail on the head. So I quote from him, "The Department of Defense needs to lead the audit industry to create a 21st century integrated finance and accounting system, including a U.S. standard general ledger that provides reliable and complete data," end of his quote. Integrated systems and reliable data are the magic words. The experts, like the auditors, the financial managers, the inspector general, have known this truth for 30 years or more. They dutifully report it, wringing their hands in frustration, and then rinse and repeat the cycle from one year to the next year. Now see here, we have the mighty Pentagon that develops the most advanced weapon systems the world has ever known. Yet when it comes to deploying basic technology like an accounting system, it's buffaloed. Or is it? Maybe they want the system to work that way so nobody knows what's going on and how the money is spent. After hundreds of billions have been poured into patching up old audit systems, the Department of Defense still can't perform the most elementary accounting task in the books. They don't capture transactions as they occur and post them to the correct accounts. So just go figure what's wrong. Well, there once was a true sage consigned to an attic cubbyhole in the Pentagon who claimed to know the answer. That person was Ernest Fitzgerald. We called him Ernie. Ernie was the management systems deputy of the Air Force in the controller's office. He blew the whistle on the C-5A cost overruns and, of course, got fired when President Nixon didn't like what he testified before the Congress of the United States. Some years after being restored to his post, and he was restored only by court order, he was detailed to my staff for several years to lead a joint review of the internal controls over vendor payments. Ernie believed the Pentagon barons lorded over their financial fiefdoms for one reason, and one reason only. They did not want to see the status quo go away. Pretty simple. Keeping the books in disarray gives the Department of Defense so-called flexibility to hide overspending and other financial shenanigans. Once upon a time, a promising fix lent credence to Ernie Fitzgerald's theory. It was called the Defense Corporate Database Warehouse System. It was at the threshold of success when it got torpedoed. And torpedoed by who? The bureaucrats in the Defense Department. That system could have been a building block for a modern accounting system that might have delivered a victory to the American taxpayer. If the brass was truly committed to cleaning up the books, it would have happened long ago. The technology is there for the taking. To break out of the cycle of failures, we need to step back, hit the audit reset button, and chart a new course. As a first step, Secretary of Defense Austin should hold the Chief Financial Officer accountable for failing to have an accounting system that meets statutory requirements. That's as simple as Accounting 101, and Accounting 101 is in my book. If Secretary Austin holds the CFO feet to the fire, just maybe we will finally see a course of correction. As a lifelong family farmer, I can tell you the hope springs eternal at the start of every planting season. After 4 decades of working to weed out the fiscal mess at the Pentagon, it's a tall order to be optimistic. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up this fight. With the help of a team of auditors under the leadership of Government Accountability Office General Counsel Emanuele Perez, and support from our allies, maybe together we can nudge the department in a new direction. Otherwise, expect more of the same, colossal waste on failed audits. I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.